He's the chief legal voice in the Illinois fight against President Trump. From birthright citizenship to freezing funds to troops roaming the streets, the Illinois Attorney General has taken the Trump administration to court. Tonight, Kwame Raoul gets to the point.
From Chicago's very own, with WGN political editor Taman Bradley, this is The Point.
Good evening. It's a battle being waged by several states across the country. In the 1 year since President Donald Trump was sworn in for a second term, Illinois has been a part of 51 lawsuits attempting to halt his agenda. Two-term Democratic Attorney General Kwame Raoul calls the fight personal. 51 lawsuits. I'm wondering if on election night 2024, you saw this coming.
Yes, we did. We saw it coming way before election night. A group of state AGs started getting together, I'd say, in the spring of 2024. At that time, Joe Biden was still the presumptive candidate, Democratic candidate for president as the sitting president. And we were all aware of Project 2025, Agenda 47, and the matter within that seemed to be challenging customary interpretations of the rule of law and our Constitution. And so we gathered and started preparing for the possibility of Donald Trump being elected.
Congratulations, Mr. Trump.
Some of these things, such as limiting birthright citizenship and freezing funds and militarization and all of these things, in anticipation of those things happening.
Raoul has been focused on environmental protection rollbacks, funding cuts, and military deployments, but also President Trump's push to end birthright citizenship.
One, it's personal. I was born to Haitian immigrants. My mother was not yet naturalized at the time of my birth. So we're talking about me. The language in the 14th Amendment is so plain. You don't need to be a constitutional scholar. And to the extent that the president and his administration is going to try to violate language that is so plain, you know, even the Reagan-appointed judge that first responded to our lawsuit said he couldn't understand how any lawyer can enter the courtroom and make an argument on behalf of it. So it sent a signal as one of the first actions that we took that's how audacious this administration would be.
Last month, the U.S. Supreme Court declined to lift a lower court's injunction blocking the Trump administration from deploying the National Guard to Chicago. Illinois argued state residents should not live under fear of the military. You say there's a federal occupation of Illinois and Chicago. Why do you use the word occupation?
It's an occupation of our streets. It takes up our resources. They've descended upon our courthouses, our schools, our stores, private residents. All of those things would fit into that definition.
How difficult do sanctuary state and city laws make your job? Would it lower the temperature if, in fact, local authorities cooperated with the feds in this mission?
So President Trump said that his focus on this, at least at the outset, and he's continuously said, is a focus on crime. That he has these surges to focus on crime. In fact, we have ongoing partnership at the local level with our federal law enforcement partners. Partnerships that target both citizens and non-citizens. And so, while it's being argued and framed as an effort to fight crime, it's undermining the existing collaborative effort to do just that. It's an insult to them as well. We made clear when we went in, and interestingly, in the judge's order, she went all the way back to our nation's founding and referenced the Federalist Papers 29, where the delegates were arguing if you give the federal government the control of the state militia, The state militia of one state may be sent into another. And Alexander Hamilton said, that's preposterous. That would never happen. That's an impossible.
Even though the courts blocked National Guard members from leaving their base in Illinois, the deployment still cost taxpayers $21 million. That's according to a report from the Congressional Budget Office. It was requested in part by Senators Dick Durbin and Tammy Duckworth. The total for deployments to 5 other American cities, another $475 million. President Trump's border czar says he's willing to pull back personnel in Minneapolis, but the offer comes with strings attached.
The withdrawal of law enforcement resources here is dependent upon cooperation. Like I said, one agent arresting one bad guy in the jail means less agents on the street. We are not surrendering our mission at all. We're just doing it smarter.
Tom Homan is trying to reset priorities following 2 deadly shootings at the hands of immigration officers. Admitting the operation has faced serious problems, Homan says he's staying put until, quote, the problem is resolved. Joining us now is the head of the Chicago Republican Party. Chuck Hernandez was first elected to lead the local chapter in 2024. He's the first Hispanic Chicagoan to hold the position. Before that, he served the Chicago Police Department for 28 years as detective. Chuck, welcome to The Point.
I appreciate you having me.
We're talking about the federal immigration crackdown. As a police officer, what do you make of what's playing out in Minneapolis?
Yeah, you know, it's hard to watch. You know, it's really sad. It's a situation. I believe in the American people's right to protest. You know, of course, you know, we're seeing some of the people cross the line, and some of the chaos that's ensuing there, and it's unfortunate. Some of the outcomes there.
Is there a way that the Trump administration can better focus on deporting criminals?
Yeah, and I think that's what they're attempting to do now by sending the border czar, Tom Homan, there to Minnesota. I think the play sounds like what they're trying to do is negotiate the original plan, which what it was is to always be able to go into the prisons, go into the Department of Corrections, and arrest and deport the known criminal illegal aliens.
So are you saying that, in fact, when they're looking for people and they're out in the community, that makes it harder for them to be able to detain those suspects and then ultimately deport them, that in fact, if there were greater local cooperation, that this would be made easier?
Yes, absolutely, because if you look at what's happening in Indiana, Louisiana, Florida, these places are cooperating with ICE, with the federal agents, and we're not seeing that type of chaos across the U.S. It's only in sanctuary cities that we're seeing the chaos ensue.
Under Chicago's Welcoming City Ordinance, police are not allowed to detain or arrest someone solely based on their immigration status or transfer individuals to ICE. I'm just wondering how difficult that makes police officers' job.
Yeah, it makes it difficult because the uniformed officer is the first individual out there in the neighborhoods. They know who's there legally, who is not there, who are the troubled people in their community that are driving the violence in their community. They want to be able to do things. They want to be able to help these communities obtain safety, but their hands are tied right now.
State leaders say that they do cooperate with the feds. For example, if they know that there's someone who may have ties to a migrant who may have ties to gangs, that in fact they do help federal agents apprehend that person.
Well, they have detainers that they receive from ICE at Cook County Jail and at the Department of Corrections, and currently they are not cooperating. They're releasing these violent criminal illegal aliens back into our communities, back into our neighborhoods. And that is something that should not be happening. We can find common ground, and we need to find common ground. This is public safety matters for all of us.
I've got about 15 seconds. Is there one thing that can be done to lower the temperature?
Yeah, I think our elected officials need to tone it down, and they need to understand that the Trump administration won, and they won on a platform of mass deportation.
All right, Chuck Hernandez, Chicago GOP, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're back in 60 seconds. Developing in Washington, Senate Democrats have struck a deal with the White House to avoid a government shutdown at the end of the week. Senators have agreed to pass 5 spending bills to keep most of the government running through the summer, but they'll fund the Department of Homeland Security for just 2 weeks. Both sides will use that time to negotiate reforms for both ICE and Border Patrol agents. Democrats want federal immigration agents to adhere to tighter warrant requirements. They also want to mandate agents wear body cameras and IDs and remove their face masks. Still, any deal in the Senate will have to go back through the House, and it's not clear if conservative Republicans are willing to help before time runs out tomorrow. Tonight's tip of the hat goes to the President of the United States. You may recall last month, Mr. Trump closed his eyes and seemed to nod off during a cabinet meeting as officials praised him. Today, another cabinet meeting, and the 79-year-old president promised to stay awake.
The last time we had a press conference, it lasted for 3 hours. And some people said he closed his eyes. Look, it got pretty boring. In all fairness, a little bit at the boring side. But I didn't sleep. I just closed them because I wanted to get the hell out of here.
That is The Point. I'm Taman Bradley. Micah and Ray are back with more news at 9 from all of us here. Good night.